Welcome to the Daily Forex Market Analysis, and this is for trading on August 27th, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here. In terms of the news here, we did have news for the US, which kind of came in mixed here. The biggest development, though, was in terms of US-China trade relations. So we have seen, last week we saw that they were basically putting tariffs on each other. And over the weekend, President Trump actually tweeted out that China had approached the US and the trade negotiations were back on the table and they were going to talk again. So now China did refute that claim. However, one of the high officials said that they do not want trade wars. It's not in anybody's best interest. So they are willing to talk calmly and continue on with the trade negotiations. So that had a positive impact on the market. So overall, though, we saw the market go crazy. First, there was all this selling, so markets had gapped down, the yen crosses had gapped down, but then we saw a complete change based on President Trump's tweets here. And now there is this basically a low volume activity in the market, which is driving up the volatility in the market. So we have to be careful. Basically, the prices are moving around very erratically, just being driven by sentiment. So just wanted to put that out there and make sure we are keeping our position sizes small because this could cause a lot of problems. Okay, so going into our data here coming up here tomorrow, we do have one of the MPC members speaking from Bank of England here. Other than that, just the consumer confidence numbers coming in for the US as well as a Richmond Manufacturing Index here. So consumer confidence numbers are expected to be below the previous one. And if these drop here, or the numbers that come out are below these expected numbers, we are likely to see the US dollar drop because this will be negative. So if the consumers expect the economic conditions to go sour, that would be bad for the US dollar because that means that we are, again, everybody's expecting a recession and looking for conditions to go bad. So that will have a negative impact on the US dollar. Other than that, we don't have a ton of data here, but do keep an eye on what comes out in terms of the US-China trade relations, because that is likely to have a direct impact on the market. As we have seen, Sunday usually is a very, very slow day. We don't tend to, or Mondays, we don't tend to see a lot of movement in the market, but this time there was tons of movement. So let's go on to the charts and take a look at that. Well, let's start off with euro dollar here. In the euro dollar, we saw that price has started going up, but then we saw this a big drop here in the euro dollar. So based on that, bias is bearish here. We could get a pullback into 1.1120 and then a drop back towards our support here at 1.1050. So this is the level that price has shot up from the other day. It's now looking for price to come back to this level. So a bias here is bearish for euro dollar. First target is 1.1050, and then we're looking at price to come back down towards 1.1030. So bias is bearish here for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, we saw a drop in prices here. So bias is bearish. We have a bearish engulfing candle here. So bias is bearish, looking for price to drop further here. 1.2180 back into the support resistance level. That will be our first target. And if price continues, then we're looking for price to target the base of this candle here at 1.2100. So bias is bearish for pound dollar as well. Aussie dollar. This one is interesting because we see that price had dropped first based on the negative developments, and then in terms of the U.S.-China trade relations, and then when the tweet came out from President Trump in terms of U.S. and China getting back to the table here, that pushed the price up. And we saw this big move in Australian dollar that we generally don't see. So based on this here, we do have a bullish candle close. However, we are into this resistance at 0.67890, about 0.6800 level. So if price does not go above today's high, or it gets stuck below 0.6800, then we're likely to see price drop. But otherwise, this could just be a pullback for a continuation move to the upside. But for now, we have to wait and see. Because if you take a look at the 1 hour chart, we can see how on the open, markets dropped a fair bit. And then price went up all the way. And now it's trying to come back down. So we just have to be careful here because markets have been very, very volatile. But for now, though, bias is bullish. But if it doesn't go above today's high, I would look for it to come back down towards 0.6735 and then 0.6680. But for now, bias is bearish. If we see a break above today's high, looking for it to go back towards the top of the range. So if we take a look at it, price has been trading in this range here. So in that case, I would be targeting the high of the range at 0.6820. Next one, New Zealand dollar. This one looks weak here. This one has also dropped on the market open here. So going back, we saw on Sunday when the market opened a big drop here in New Zealand dollar. All of that got filled. Price went all the way into the next support resistance level, and now we are seeing it drop. So overall, the daily candle here is more neutral candle, but because price is into resistance, I'm actually looking for price to drop here towards 0.6350 and then below that 0.6320. So New Zealand dollar has been weak overall. So expecting it to continue with that weakness and looking for a drop here. So bearish bias for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, this one we've seen that price has rejected the high here several times now, and it's just been trading in this range for quite some time. So today we have a nice bearish candle close here right into the support. Price is broken through the support here, so I'm looking for price to drop further here and back into 0.3180 into the support resistance level. So bias is bearish for dollar CAD, and 1.3180 is the target here. And then below that, looking, if it does go below that, then 1.3120. But for today, the target is 1.3180. So bearish bias here for dollar CAD. Euro pound here, this one, we have a neutral candle close here. Price had dropped and gone back and forth here. So bias here is neutral here. But as we can see, price is into resistance right now. So if price stays below the high of today, then I'm looking for price to come back down, because overall the bias is to the downside. So we had drop, a pullback, and then a drop. But because it's a neutral candle, if it does break the high, then we could see a continuation higher into the next support resistance level. So right now, bias is neutral. And if it stays below 0.9100, I will look for a further drop back into 0.9030. Euro Swiss franc here, this one is a neutral candle as well. We have seen that price has been trading in this range for some time now, over the last several weeks. Now, price went in both directions as we discussed for several pairs here, including Swiss franc, because that is also a safe haven currency. So we saw price go back and forth, and now it's into resistance here. If price stays below 1.0880, then I'm looking for price to come back and test the bottom of this range once again at 1.0820-ish level, and then potentially into 1.0780 only if it breaks the support level. But for now, I think we could see a drop in this, but the bias is neutral for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc, this one is looking more bearish here. We did see a drop here, even though this one also traded in both directions. So what I'm looking for here is maybe a bit of a pullback into a 1.20 level, and then a drop back towards our support here at 1.1870, and second target would be 1.1820. So bias is bearish here for pound Swiss franc. Dollar Swiss franc, we do have a bullish candle close here, but I think this one could drop further as well. My bias on this is neutral. I think this one could go neutral to bullish, but I think if it doesn't break above today's high, I think this one could drop further as well. However, if it does break above today's high, then based on the daily here, we could see a further move up. But for now, bias is neutral to slightly bullish, but if it doesn't break today's high, then it is likely to drop, and I will look for price to come back towards 0.9700 here. So very important to see how price reacts at this support resistance level. Pound yen here, this one, we had a bullish candle close, but as we saw on the weekend here, price had dropped, and then it went all the way back up right into the support resistance level. And then since then, it has dropped. So price has been very erratic here. So we have seen a good solid candle close to the upside here. So for now, a bias is bullish based on that. But if it doesn't break above today's high, so as long as it stays below 130, I would look for price to drop further towards 128.20 and potentially towards 127.50. So overall here, I think this one could drop here. So I'm not bullish on this. I think this one could drop. Euro yen here, this one was also interesting. We saw that price had moved in both directions. Initially, there was a big drop and a huge move to the upside, went all the way into this resistance level here. And since then, we have seen a drop here. And now we are coming up into support. So we'll have to see how price reacts. But this one could also drop here. So as long as price stays below today's high, then chances are it's likely to drop further. So bias, I would say, would be neutral. But like I said, if it stays below today's low, then I'm looking for a drop. Dollar yen here, this one also went in both directions. We do have a bullish candle close, but as we can see, price is right into the support resistance level. So as long as it stays below 106.20, I would look for price to drop, and then the first target would be 105, and second targets would be 104.50. So bias is bullish, but like I said, because it's into resistance, if it stays below resistance, I'm looking for it to drop. Aussie yen here, the bias here is bullish only because we have seen this big move. Again, it dropped on open, then it went all the way back and right into the resistance, and now it looks like it wants to drop. So with this one, it is bullish candle close, therefore the bias is bullish. But like I said, if it doesn't close above 72, if it doesn't hold above 72, I'm looking for a drop. 70.80 is the first target, and then below that 70.00 will be the second target. New Zealand yen, same thing here. It has moved in both directions. So at this point, bias is bullish based on the daily close here. But in terms of trading, I think this one could drop because overall New Zealand dollar is weak. And if it doesn't go through this today's high, I'm looking for a drop. So it is already dropping, but I will look for a continuation. As long as it stays below today's high, I would look for a further drop here. CAD yen here. CAD yen is interesting. Same thing here. It has moved in both directions.
It dropped on the open, then went all the way back, filled this gap here, this inefficient move. It filled that, and now it seems to be pulling back. But overall here, this one is also into resistance here. As we can see, price is not broken above that level. So as long as it stays below 80.20, I will look for it to drop. But once it moves to the other side, I will look for price to go up. The first target would be 80.50, then 81. So we need to see how price reacts at 80.80. If it stays below, if it continues on holding below that, then it's likely to drop further. Pound and New Zealand, this was another pair that went all over the place. Very, very erratic price move here. So on open here, we saw price drop, and then it has, sorry, no, this was not the open here. We're looking at 26th here. So we saw that price had gone up, and then it dropped because it did go into our support resistance. So here we have a head and shoulders type of formation, and then price dropped from here. Now it's going back up. So it's been trading in this range. It came into the support here, and now it looks like it wants to go back up. So we'll have to see how it does around this pivot point level at 0.9180. If it stays below here, then I would look for a continuation move to the downside, likely something like this. However, if it blows through the daily pivot here, then chances are we're looking for price to go higher here and even further still. So at this point, we are seeing this pullback. Like I said, if it goes through 1.9180, then chances are it could go all the way up. So just need to be careful there. Price is just going back and forth here, but overall bias is to the downside. We are into support here, so once we see a break, we could target the 0.8980 target, but again, we have to see how price reacts. If it continues on going, it could just go sideways here. We could just start seeing this kind of move here. So that's what we have to watch out for. So this pair tends to be quite erratic, so just be careful. For now, bias is bearish. If we see a break through the support here, we could see it continue further. Euro New Zealand, this one we have a bearish candle close, but this one here could pull back further here all the way into this previous support resistance level at 1.7450, and then if it stays below that, we're looking for price to drop. So potentially something like this. 1.7300 would be a first target, and then 1.7280 will be the second target. However, if it continues on, it could go all the way back up because such are the market conditions right now with low liquidity. But overall bias is bearish. EuroCAD here, this is bearish. We have a bearish engulfing candle close here. We saw that price had turned. So bias here is bearish. 1.4650 is the first target. 1.4600 is the second target for EuroCAD. Pound CAD, this one as well. Canadian dollar has been relatively strong here. So a bias here is bearish. We do have a bearish engulfing candle here as well. So looking for it to drop further towards 1.6080. Second target, 1.6020. So bearish bias for EuroCAD as well. Sorry, Pound CAD as well. Euro Aussie here, the bias here is bearish. And we have seen a huge move here. This one, again, one of those pairs that shot up on market open and then gave back all the profits. So right now it's pulling back. It could pull back further towards our daily pivot. So watch out for that, but bias is bearish here and looking for price to drop. First target would be 1.6320 level here. Actually, let's say 1.6350, and then 1.6300 will be the second target. So bias is bearish for Euro Aussie. Pound Aussie here, this is looking bearish as well. Now with this one here, we could get a further pullback into 1.8100 and then a drop. So we could get this type of a move. So price pulls back and then drops. A potential pullback target would be 1.8100. And then our actual profit target is a 1.7970 as the first one, and then 7920 as the second one. So here bias is bearish for pound Aussie. Silver here, silver has been interesting. We did see a big move up in silver. So right here bias is bullish, but we could see a move back into testing this 17.50 level. And if it holds above, then a further continuation move higher. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. So for now, bias is bullish. First target, first I'm looking for a pullback, then a move higher. So the first target here is 17.77, then 18. So bias is bullish for silver. Gold here, we have a bearish pin bar in gold. So I'm looking for a price to drop back towards the base of these candles here at 1494 level here. So bias is bearish for gold. Oil here, oil has been interesting. It has moved in both directions. Now with oil here, one thing to keep in mind is at the G7 summit, there was some progress made in talks between Iran, or towards talks between Iran and the US. So President Trump seems to be open to the idea at this point. So that is positive that's negative for oil because it's positive for Iran and US relationship. So as a result of that, market is expecting supply to open up for the oil because Iran is a big oil producer. So if the supply increases, prices tend to decrease. So that's why we saw price drop here. But for now, bias is bearish and we could see a further drop in oil. So I will look for a bit of a pullback into 54.20 potentially, and then a drop here. So bias is bearish here for oil. Next one here, copper. Copper is looking bullish, but we have seen this one go back in both directions here. So we do have a bullish candle close, but notice it's right into our resistance at 2.50. So if price does not break through the resistance, then I will look for a reversal of this move here. And overall, we have a bearish move here. So looking for price to continue to move lower here. So for now, even though we do have a daily candle close that's bullish, as long as it stays below 2.50, I will look for a further move down. Now, should it break through the high here, through today's high, then I would be looking for price to continue higher in line with the bullish candle close here towards 2.50, 2.52 and 2.55. So for now, bias is bullish, but be careful of that 2.50 level. Bitcoin here, Bitcoin has been trading sideways here, hasn't really done a whole lot. Now we do see a rejection of this previous support resistance level. So we could see a price move towards 94.20. So keep an eye on that. But for now, this is neutral. It's just going sideways. All right, the equity market. So markets have been very, very volatile, and they have just gone back and forth. So with the markets, we have to pay attention to President Trump's tweets, because as we can see, prices dropped and then they went all the way up. So now we are pushing into this resistance level. The question here will be, where does it go? So what we are looking for here is, if price stays below 28.86, I will look for price to drop. But it has pulled back quite a bit, and President Trump seems to be interested in keeping the equity market stable. So as a result of that, we could see a further move higher here. If it doesn't, if it breaks through here, I will look for a move higher. And in that case, our target here would be 29.40. But for now, we are right into resistance at 28.80. If it doesn't go above that, then we can see a drop. But for now, bias is bullish, and 29.40 will be the target. NASDAQ here, same thing here as well. We did see price move down. Price has been trading in this range for the last couple of weeks here. So it came into the support level, pushed right back, and now we have a bullish candle close here. So with this one, bias is bullish, and this is the move I am looking for. But again, markets are being driven by sentiment. So should something change, that could change here. And another thing to keep in mind is if price does not break through today's high, then it could drop. But for now, bias is bullish, and 77.80 is the target. DAX here, this one is looking bullish as well. We are into resistance, so if it doesn't go through 11,700, then it could turn. But for now, bias is bullish and looking for it to go towards the top of the range at 11,850. Nikkei here, this is the only equity index of the ones that we look at that saw a drop here, so bias is bearish. 70.20 is the first target, 69.20 is the second target. Nikkei here, this is looking bullish as well. Market sentiment seems to be bullish right now based on the tweets there. So bullish bias here, again, if it doesn't break the high of today, then it could drop, but otherwise looking for it to go higher into 20,800. So bullish bias for Nikkei as well. All right, so that's it for today. Have a great trading day tomorrow, and I will see you back again tomorrow here. Bye for now.